No, man, but you got to keep going. What am I going to do, quit? That's not an option. You got to keep on keeping on. Life's a garden, dig it? You make it work for you. You never give up, man. That's my philosophy.
Hey gardeners, I hope you're all having a great week and your gardens are doing awesome. We're out here looking at some potatoes right now emerging from the ground. We got lots and lots of potatoes. These are extras actually from our micro farm over at my friend's place. So I thought I'd plant them out here in our alleyway garden. And they are coming up looking awesome. Ought to have lots of great potatoes coming up soon. All right, everybody, let's get growing.
All right, all right. Welcome, all my passionate plant people and garden enthusiasts. Thank you so much for joining with us here on the Let's Get Growing show live here on the Urban Gardener channel. I'm Enoch. I'm your host today. Thank you so much for joining us on a really special show today. Let's see here real quick. If you're joining with us, I want to let everybody know that today's show we have on with us our special guest, our featured guest today is Mark Valencia from Self-Sufficient Me. Join with us a little bit later on in the hour, and really excited about this. In fact, everybody join with us. I just did a pre-show. We've been talking all about it. Really excited about this. And then here also too, coming up in just a few minutes as well too, we are following Sean and Allison McManus of Spoken Garden, and they're joining with us here for the Are You Following Me segment, and really excited about meeting them and Mark here today on what is going to be just a really, really great show. So definitely everybody stay tuned with us here and check out these great guests, and then definitely get in and ask some questions. But if you are here right now at the top of the show, definitely click the thumbs up, hit that like button, subscribe, and definitely share with all of your garden friends. Let everybody know about the Let's Get Growing show here on the weekends, every Saturday and Sunday at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time and 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here for us in the States. And that's our usual time, but we're actually here an hour later here at noon Pacific Standard Time, because we are giving our featured guest just an extra hour, because we are really blessed and honored to have him here live with us today. So that's going to be really awesome too. So also want to, right at the top of the show, definitely give a big huge shout out to all of you who are watching our replay. Thank you for joining with us after our live stream here. And I know a lot of you who are watching on the replay, just can't make it and can't watch during the specific live time that we're here. But really great that, this works out the way it does on YouTube. We do this live here with everybody here, and then it stays on live for everybody else to watch at their convenience whenever whenever you can, and that's one of the great things about being able to do these sort of live streams and shows too. So again, huge shout out to all of you who are watching the replay, and get down in that comment section. I'd love to hear about your gardens. Love to hear if you got any suggestions, any guests that you might like to see on the show, all of that sort of stuff. So definitely get into the comments below and leave some comments there, even if you're just going to say hi. I mean, comments are great. This is one of the things I've been kind of pushing lately, is that jump into, if you're following someone or someone's out there doing some things like our guests that we'll have here today. I'm sure Mark's got plenty, you know what I mean, but he could always use some more. But guests like Sean and Allison, who are going to be on with us here in just a few minutes, when you go over and visit them, leave a comment, say hi, let them know you came from the Let's Get Growing show, and do that sort of thing for creators out there. That's one of the things we love about doing our show, is that we get to meet and talk with all these great creators and people in the gardening world, and to be able to have these really awesome, really great fun gardening conversations and learn about all of these awesome people who are doing so many cool things in the gardening world. And it's so great to support them too as well too. So if you can, like I said, go in those comments and drop comments here, drop comments there, drop comments everywhere. All right, everybody, thank you so much. And definitely too, if you do have any questions or comments right now, if you're joining with us live, for sure, you want to get into the comment section for sure. I'm going to try to keep up with it today. We've got a big show today. If you got any questions, I'll definitely put them in there. Definitely one of the things that we like for you to do too is put them on all caps if you got any questions. That way we can kind of see those outside of everything else there too. And we will definitely try to get some of those in the show here and ask our guests while we've got them here if we see any questions for them as well too. So definitely jump in there, if you got any comments or anything like that, or enjoy the chat with everybody else. This is one of the things I was talking about in the last hour with everybody, is that it's just really fun to watch everybody in the live stream kind of just have fun chatting with each other. You know what I mean? That's really cool too, so definitely have fun in the chat as well if you're here with us. Ask some questions, all of that sort of stuff. And again, one more quick little promotion for you all, because I do like to see all of your gardens. I've got make videos and I show you all of my gardens. We talk and do all these sort of things and show you other people and introduce you to other people's gardens. I love to see your gardens. So if you're on Facebook, go to our Facebook group. I've got a link down below. It's Let's Get Growing Gardening Group, appropriately, right? And go there and join our group. Come and share with me and all of our other people in our urban gardener community, and share with us what you've got growing in your garden, because I would love to see what you got growing on. So that's a great opportunity for everybody to also continue the discussion and continue sharing and helping us grow this great gardener community around our show and our channel here at the Urban Gardener. So thank you all so much for all of you who do participate. I love seeing all that stuff. So all right, real quick here, I'm sorry, I want to get in here. I got lots of people here to really get into. We got a lot of great people who were joining with me, actually, because like I said, I was on the last hour. I did a little pre-show before this show during our regular hour that we're on. We're an hour late this week for our featured guest, but yeah, we did a little pre-show, so everybody jumped right on over too. So let's see here. We got Rick, who's actually joining us from Australia too. Man, this is great to have you with us, Rick. Rick's with us a lot too from Australia, and he gets up nice and early. I think Australians are just early people. I think that's just kind of one of the things is because I asked our featured guest Mark about being on with us live because it was so early for him, even at 5:40 in the morning for him, because at this later hour, but he was like, no problem, man. And he probably would have been here the last hour too, but we were nice enough to give him an extra hour so that we can join with us as well too. So thanks. Let's see. Let's get into it. There we go. Yes, absolutely. And we've got sketch. Woohoo, let's get into it. Excellent. Adam joining back with us here, helping us out with some moderation too. Thank you, Adam, for being here with us today. Jersey Girl, good to have you back. Dusty Flats, hello, how's it going, man? Thank you for coming here for our show today. Sam, oh yeah, all right. Hans says Mark is down under. Yeah, he's down under. Australia. We got an Australia show today. That's really great. So right on. See, Connie says hello to Mark. Hope you brought Bella along for this chat. She is precious. Absolutely. Yeah, maybe. You never know. I know I do. This is one of the things that did happen, and I did notice before the show started, was George is indoors with me. George is usually out, gone. I don't let him in the studio area because he's a loudmouth, and he could at any point in time come in here and start meowing all over the place and wanting to be the star of the show. So hopefully that doesn't happen. But yeah. That would be kind of fun to have him and his dog as well with us too. And then we got Jay with us here too from Huron County, Ontario, Canada. Awesome to see you, Jay. Jay is the greatest moderator for so many great channels in the gardening community, and we are really blessed to have Jay with us here for our show most every week. moderating our show and all of that. I'm talking a little fast. I think that's what my problem is here. All right, awesome too. We got Britt Lee here. We'll run through some more here. We see we got joining with us, but yeah, we got a great show for all of you here today, as we mentioned. Also, I do want to mention too is check out our show from last week. We did a conversation with Scott Head from Black Gumbo Southern Gardening. Scott was one of the first few guests on our show, actually. One of the first five. I never did look up to see exactly what it was, but he was one of the first 5 guests that we had for the show. Scott, I've been following for many years. I really enjoy him and his content and all of that. So it was great to get back with him, catch up what he's been doing since he was last on the show last year. And then we also got to meet Bren Haas from Creative Living with Bren Haas on our Are You Following Me segment. Bren is really, in fact, Bren actually brought the star of that show last week, which was her geodesic dome that she did her interview from, which was amazing. I mean, she had all of these just plants everywhere, plants everywhere, but it just inside there and all of that, and it just really got the chat going. Everybody just loved Bren's geodome and all of that too. So that was really great. So you can go back next week and check that out as well too. We didn't have a Sunday edition last week. We didn't. I took that week off, but next Sunday, tomorrow is the second Sunday of the month, and we've got Gardner Scott. Master Gardner Scott with us. He joins with us every second Sunday of the month for our Sunday edition, and he answers all of your gardening questions. So if you have anything that you have going on right now in your garden that you need an answer to or anything like that, definitely come in and join in with the chat there as well too. Tomorrow, and ask all of your questions to Gardner Scott. He's just a wealth of knowledge. He's got so much great garden knowledge. So, and then real quick too, next week we got Leo Carver joining us on the show. Leo Carver is going to be on the show. He's author of a book called Growing Consciousness. And like his shirt says right there, plants make people happy. And it's one of the things that we talk about a lot on the show. And it's one of the things I think is really kind of seals the deal for most people who get into gardening is what we get from it, almost spiritually, you know what I mean? What we get. And I thrive in my garden, and it just makes me feel so good. I may feel a little achy in the bones and all of that sort of stuff, but I feel really nurtured in the soul. And that's what I want to get into with Leo next week on the show next week. So definitely be joining up with us next week for that one too. And then the next week is the third Sunday of the month. And the third Sunday of the month, we do our monthly book club where we feature a gardening book and bring the author on. So we announce that book at the end of the last month's book club, and then we all kind of get the book, read it, if you haven't, and all of that. But even if you haven't read it or haven't even heard of the book yet and you're joining with us right now, we would love to have you at the book club next Sunday too, because we are featuring this really awesome book. It's called Garden Variety from Christy Wilhelmy. She's been on the show before already, but I really love this book. Garden Variety is it's a novel. It's about characters in people in a community garden, and how they kind of interact with each other, how they deal with a neighbor, and just troubles and all sorts of things. It's just a really fun read, bunch of really great characters. It's a novel. It's got even some gardening tips and all of that sort of stuff, just kind of mixed in with this really fun fictional story, following Lizzie and her tale of her adventures at this community garden in Los Angeles. So really great read. I love this book. So it's going to be really great to have her on next week as well too. So we got lots and lots growing on, man. We are just so full of awesome people and so blessed and honored to have so many great people joining with us here on our show. So I hope you keep joining with us here and for all of these great shows coming up. So here in just a moment, we are going to be back with our first guests for our Are You Following Me segment. Let's Get Growing is sponsored by IV Organic.
Hi, my name is Charles Malky, biologist and plant expert with IV Organics, where we grow cool plants and author Saving the World with the Home Garden. IV Organic 3-in-1 Plant Guard has 7 natural oils that protect your plants, not just from the summer heat as well as winter cold, but also protects your plants from damaging insects and rodents. The oils in the product include castor, cinnamon, clove, garlic, peppermint, rosemary, and spearmint. These oils are natural insect and rodent repellent oils, which are encapsulated by the base powder, offering your plants months of protection at a time. 1 application per year will suffice for protection against damaging summer sunburn and winter sun scald, but if the target is pests, application as much as 2 to 3 times a year may be necessary.
This is Sarah from Sarah's Seed Shop, here with another trivia question. Which of the following vegetables grows well in the shade? A. Tomatoes, B. Eggplant, C. Corn, or D. Lettuce? We'll be back with the answer a little later on.
All right. Excellent. Continuing on the show here. I just want to jump in and say hi to a couple of more people who are dropped into the chat with us. It looks like we've got Joe from Grow Big TV, maybe Joe or Corky. Joe and Corky do Grow Big TV. Really great, fun podcast here on YouTube, and they get a lot of really great guests too. You got to check out what they do there at Grow Big TV. Also, let's see, I see Simplify Gardening Tony, right on. Tony O'Neill from Simplify Gardening in there. Big Will Dog, awesome. Thanks for jumping into the chat there. Great to see you, LP. I hope you got the book. LP was the winner of our monthly book there, so I hope you got that book there. I got that sent out, and we'll be talking with that author, like I said, next week. And let's see, anybody else? I don't want to miss anybody else. I hope I've gotten to everybody. Let's see here. Oh, Urban Gardening Chronicles joining with us. Thank you so much for jumping in the chat there. Excellent. All right. Well, I think it's about time to see who we're following this week.
Are you following me? Are you following me, dude?
All right, everybody. This week we are following Sean and Allison McManus from Washington State. They have the channel Spoken Garden. They're on Instagram. They do podcasting. They've got they do all sorts of great videos. They're authors too. They wrote a book called The First Time Gardener, and also they are inventors of a really cool gardening product for that we'll talk about here too. This has really got really creative for gardeners there. Excellent. Who we got there? All right, Sean and Allison, thank you so much for joining with us.
Hi, everybody.
Thanks for having us.
I know, we're so excited to be here. This is wonderful. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. It is so wonderful to have you here with us as well, too, and get to introduce you to everybody here. And yeah, I really enjoy the stuff you've done in your content. So I was like, I got to really have these two on and really talk about all these great things that they've got growing on. You guys, definitely do some really cool stuff through Instagram as well. I was mentioning all sorts of social media and everything. I'll give you a minute here real quick just to do an introduction. Let everybody know a little bit more about yourselves. Do a better introduction than what I did there, but
Oh no, you did great.
no.
You did great.
I know. I was like, you hit it all. I mean, gosh.
I know. Sometimes we forget all the stuff that we do, so you
exactly
jogged our memory a little bit.
I know. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Right.
We're just, I mean, first and foremost, we're teachers. We love helping people.
Yeah.
Like formally, I was a teacher for about close to 15 years. I was a middle school science teacher, and I should let Sean tell a lot more about himself because it's a lot more interesting.
Well, we're a great team. We got the teacher here, lots of experience teaching middle school science. Can really get the point across. And then myself, I studied horticulture at WSU, Washington State University, a bachelor's and master's degree. And so I love horticulture. I love getting into just the general basics of plants, but also a little bit higher level, the why behind it. And we try to go through that and work that into all our different content.
And just to add a little bit to that, for those of you that were meeting for the first time, I mean, hi, everybody. We are ornamental plant gardeners. We love growing vegetables and all kinds of food.
Right.
But I don't know, something about growing a flower, growing perennials, things like that. That's our wheelhouse, I guess, if you could say.
And we're definitely, like you said, we're in the Pacific Northwest, Washington State, on the west side of the mountains. And there's so many different microclimates over here because of the mountains, but because of the Puget Sound and the ocean. It can be really challenging depending on where you live. And so we accept the challenge, and we just jump in there, and we try to explain in most of our videos of what we're doing, why we're doing it, and how it's possible for other people to do it too.
Yeah, that's excellent. And all sorts of types of gardening out there, and one of the things, kind of as I was explaining too about next week's guest and all that, there's just so much we get from a garden and growing and all that sort of stuff. And we can get that in all sorts of ways and get, whether we're doing ornamental gardens, flower gardening. And for me, I do a lot of food and vegetable gardening and all of that. But, it's, and again, too, it's also great to get introduced to people who are doing some of these things, even if most of our viewers do food gardening, because I think incorporating, and I've been doing more of ornamental stuff, adding more and more flowers and things to especially like native things that I can get and start incorporating into my alleyway spaces and all of that, to just kind of for one, kind of give it that better look in a sense for one, but then also too with all these really cool flowering natives and all that I'm introducing to my garden space. I'm introducing and bringing in more pollinators, and I'm getting a really good thriving garden that's just alive, because of some of these other things as well too. So even us food gardeners got to incorporate some ornamentals and stuff.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I like what you said about Leo Carver. And we love Leo. We're familiar with him. We met him once. And besides what he does, talking about the the spiritual side of it, and then you're talking about more of the vegetable side of it, more ornamentals. Everybody gets so much out of gardening, like you said, but it can be really personal, and everybody's journey is just a little bit different, and that's what makes it really fun.
It does. I love that.
That's exactly. And I know you probably get that too through your podcast and the things when you're doing and getting to interview guests and all of that as well too. And what we get to do here on the Let's Get Growing show, I always point out to the, the top of the screen there, is we're building community through gardening. And I love I love how we get to bring people together in all these different backgrounds and learn about these garden stories and introduce people and to do more. That's what makes doing, and the ability for those of us, I'd say, average folks in a sense, to be able to create and put together shows like this or live streams and podcasts and things, is to be able to share and to be able to introduce, all of these great and wonderful gardening stories from people, like yourselves. So let's dig into it real quick here. For one, I want to just kind of, where is this really, this kind of whole, we'll kind of keep it to, you guys moving together to doing Spoken Garden. Where does this kind of garden journey start for you guys?
Oh, well, as a couple, you mean, like as Spoken Garden?
Yeah, Spoken Garden. Okay. You guys come together and you start on this garden adventure together.
Yeah, how should we? Okay, well, we've had a few different years of start time, I guess, that we could. So we kind of unofficially started Spoken Garden in about 2017, but kind of officially in 2018, I guess, with the podcast. And we originally started with a website, a blog. We just wanted to like write and talk about gardening, but we weren't into video at that time.
Not yet.
Not until about 2020, right at the start of the pandemic, is when we really started hitting video. With our channel Spoken Garden, we did a video every day for an entire year. It was a challenge for ourselves. It was a big challenge, but
well, we started the channel too, not only to reach a new audience, but to help people during the lockdowns of the pandemic, and just to let people know gardening wasn't canceled like a lot of other things. Yeah, and so we wanted to make sure people knew, that you can still get out there and garden. We wanted to encourage that and show people what we were doing in our garden, and hopefully inspire them to get out there and do something and get out of the house and not feel so cooped up.
And it's so funny that's how we started, because it totally evolved into something else, which we're so thankful for, just giving, it kind of challenged us too, to just get out and really hone our video skills, which were kind of shaky at the beginning, but we definitely learned a lot.
Oh yeah, I know that. Believe me, go check out my first videos.
Some of ours, I'm like, let's just unpublish those for a while. But start somewhere. Right. And now we're just, we film as much as we can. So
yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. So also too, real quick, you guys put together a book. You guys wrote a book, First Time Gardener. You want to tell us a little bit about that book?
Here, I'll hold it.
Yeah, there you are.
Yeah, so we got asked to write this book back in 2021 from Cool Springs Press, Cordo Publishing, and this was a blast to write. First of all, writing a book together was a really fun and interesting experience, I'll say.
Right, I bet.
There was some translation going on between brain dumps and then making it actually making it into a format that we could actually put into the book.
It was couple broken cameras, couple all-nighters. It was a very much learning experience for us, but we're very proud of this book. We put everything that we wanted to put into it, it's meant for the first time gardener, but we've had master gardeners tell us, wow, I've picked up some things I forgot about, or I really honed my skills in this one area. So
it takes people through from beginning to end about what you need to consider before you start a garden, and then it goes through definitely how plants work, what they need, where to place them, gets into a little bit of design, and then goes straight into maintenance.
It was a lot of fun.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Great. And Kate, and here's the thing that I thought that was really probably one of the coolest and most interesting things was that you guys are inventors. You guys invented. You guys got together and got even creative together and created an invention to make things easier for the home gardener, right? What's this invention?
Oh, we're so excited about this too. So this is the Divi XL. And then basically we have two tools, one smaller than the other one, and we'll show you that in just a sec. And it's a seed sowing, seedling transplanting tool. So it's meant to be a dual purpose tool, and there was nothing like it on the market. So it is patent pending right now. Maybe you should.
Yeah, so we wanted to make it easier to sow seeds, but we also wanted to combine what you would need after the seeds have actually started growing and to transplant them. So here's the dibber with graduated seed depth markings. So you just you go down to the depth of 1/8, 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, 3/4 an inch, and it just goes from there. So I'll get it right up there. And then once you get the seeds sown, they germinate. You need to transplant them. So, get them out of a pony pack or thin them out, but you don't want to throw them out. So we added on this scoop, basically a widger, and it just helps get down there, cradle the plant, a little seedling, and then you take it out and you can just make a new hole with it and then take it out and you transplant.
Just a total multifunctional tool all around for all of you gardeners out there who like to get started with seeds. Definitely. And definitely, they're so hard. Makes it a little easier to kind of handle and get them right in there and all of that too, right?
Well, yeah, and we thought too, we were like, why are we using a spoon? Why are we using chopsticks? Why are we using a butter?
Which all work, I mean, in their own way. I mean, they really do, but we just thought this just.
I've got these like little paint brushes. So I use like
cool.
the little end of a paintbrush every now and then. So I'm gonna have to give that a try for sure.
Well, yeah, we can send you,
No, we'd
a
love
couple
to.
too.
Yeah,
if
we'd
you
love
want.
to.
Yeah, yeah, I'd love to check them out for sure. Definitely. That's really cool. You guys got a lot of really cool stuff going on. I really do encourage everybody too. We do got links down below in the description too for all of our guests, and so you can find information for that too. And maybe we'll also try to put in a link. I know uh, um, Jay will probably have a link in there too to that as well in the comments for everybody who's following along with us here today too. So this is really awesome. I really like that. Let's jump right into though your garden though too. I know you guys say that you guys do some ornamental gardening and all of that. So what does that mean? What does your garden space really what does this look like if we can envision it?
Yeah,
It's very condensed right now.
we're in between gardens right now. How do you?
All right. I kind of know how that goes.
Yeah, it's like we don't actually have our own garden just at the moment because we're looking for property. So
all our
okay.
all our plants are in containers. They're all packed in. We're repotting. We're moving stuff around, trying to find those perfect spots for enough sun, enough shade. So. But yeah, I mean, we have peonies, dahlias,
tons of dahlias,
zinnias. We've got a whole bunch of perennials like coneflowers and lavender and
hydrangeas.
We grow so much. Yeah, we can grow quite a few different plants out here on the coast. So
it is, and I think just if people are like, "What the heck?" I don't understand. Like, our backstory, real quick, is that we had a huge thriving garden at we bought my grandparents' house, so we kind of put our garden on top of their 50-year-old garden. So we merged those gardens together, and that's what the first half of our from 2020 to 2022. That's what all of our videos were, and our whole book is featured in our whole backyard. Then we sold our home because we kind of outgrew the space, and we just wanted to get out of the city, kind of, and. So now we're borrowing space in my mom's backyard, which we're so thankful for. And it's been a lot of fun learning about, I mean, we grow, like you said, we grow everything in containers right now, hydrangeas, I mean, everything. So it's been a really fun learning opportunity to, grow everything that way.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, that's like awesome stuff. Like, okay, so real quick between each of you, which, whether plant, flower, whatever that you grow, what's your favorite? Which one?
That is so hard to choose.
I know it's tough. I mean, but if you can narrow it down to like what's that one you like?
Oh, boy, come back to me.
I put you on the spot, didn't I? Put you on the spot.
All right. Well, okay. So hydrangeas are definitely a favorite.
Okay. Yes.
And dahlias. So it's kind of a tie.
Hydrangeas.
I'd go with rhododendrons because I grew up with them. My family had a rhododendron farm, so I grew up with those, and I really love those still. And then zinnias.
Yeah, zinnias. Yeah, rhododendron. That's still like, isn't that like a state flower, something like that?
It is. Yeah.
Yep, for Washington State. Yeah. I did plenty of time living in Washington State myself too. I remember a lot of those there too. Yeah, they're really awesome. Right on. Least favorites. You got any least favorites?
Oh yeah,
you're just like, that's got to go. You tried it. It's got to go.
Well, we just got a new one of these.
I know, we're gonna have to be careful.
We gotta be a little careful.
Well, and sorry to everyone in the audience for this. They might not agree with, but roses.
That's all right. That's all right. Okay. Ooh, what? Oh, I can't believe it. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. I literally actually just tore 2 rose bushes out of some spaces and to replace that space and make it more useful for other things. So I know what you feel. I mean, I do like them, but if something's got to go for something else, yeah, I'll take those out.
Well,
just too much maintenance.
Too
much maintenance.
It's just.
Yep.
Yeah, they have way too many problems, even though with all the breeding that goes on and all the different things that happen, they still just have way too many problems. They're too high maintenance for us.
However, we're growing a brand new one from Proven Winners that we absolutely love so far. So we do have to say that we're willing to try. We're trying. And it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Not all of my rose bushes are gone. I mean, I do have a few that I like, but I was like, something's got to go. I got to do something. And it was an easy decision to say, yep, those, and that. All right. Easy to go. Boom. But yeah, roses again too, because they are maintenance and so much to do into them. They're beautiful. I like the flowers a lot, but yeah, for that reason, pretty much I want something a little more self-sustaining than a rose bush for sure. All right, awesome. So what are your guys' biggest gardening challenges? I mean, for one, other than transition right now, I suppose that's probably the biggest challenge right now, is even wondering what's the space we're going to be in. Do you have an idea where it's going to be, or is that still up in the air?
That's still kind of up in the air.
I think we've narrowed down a kind of a zone in Washington State, but we're still not sure yet.
Yeah. I think one of our biggest challenges is just time, trying to get everything done, fit everything in when we want to get things done, how to do that. I mean, it's time is a challenge.
And I think space too, just because we work with a lot of plant companies. We have a lot of plants. We love plants. We love doing that. And that's something that we look to in the future as doing more of that, more trialing and stuff. But we're kind of limited on space. So that's been a challenge to try to, we're constantly moving containers around, moving plants around. And it's kind of comical actually, but it's a bad problem. It's not a bad problem to have.
It's not a bad
a good problem to have, right? And that's yeah, I feel you there. My whole thing is smaller spaces and trying to make and manage how am I going to fit everything into certain things and do all of that as well too. So yeah, space is always kind of an issue as well. And then timing. I mean, I've been doing a couple of videos talking all about timing and whether we get it right or not. Sometimes even for some of us seasoned gardeners, we can get it completely wrong. And I've had one of those years with my peppers for sure. My tomatoes are okay. They dealt with a little bit too, but the peppers for sure, I kind of messed them up a little bit, getting them all going and all of that too. So, but even things like that, even us seasoned gardeners go through things and have challenges and issues, especially with timing. And that was my issue this year for sure. I blew it. They're gonna be okay. Everything's gonna be good. And I'm gonna have plenty of peppers for sure. But their start's gonna be a little slow. Right on. Well, Sean and Allison, this has been really wonderful to have you on the show and get to meet you guys and to talk about all of these really wonderful things that you've got going. Do you have anything going on? Any interesting or current or upcoming projects that you might want to talk about or anything?
Well, we kind of sound like a broken record, but we're literally in the middle of more planting, so it's kind of a lot of moving around, finding space, like we were saying, mixing kind of lots of things together so we can condense. And what else? We're
redeveloping part of Allison's mom's backyard into more of a usable space with somewhere to put out some chairs and some planters and things. So that's a work in progress, but it's slowly moving forward. So
awesome. That's really great. Excellent. So again, thank you very much for joining with us here today for our Are You Following Me segment. And again, to everybody watching here, definitely get down below into the description and check out the link to go check out Sean and Allison over at Spoken Garden. And as I mentioned earlier in the show, go leave some comments. Go let them know that you came, that you saw them here on the Let's Get Growing show, and drop some comments over in some of their videos and content over there too as well. So again, thank you all so much for being here with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Enoch.
Thank you so much, you guys, for having us, and really nice to meet you.
You got it. Thanks again.
Bye. Thank you.
Hey gardeners, thanks for tuning in to our show today. We'll be right back at it here in just a moment. I just wanted to take a second here to highlight our regular videos and features here on the Urban Gardener channel. Our weekly garden journals, and our incredible featured visits.
The The answer to this week's trivia question is D. Lettuce is one of the few vegetables that you can grow in either shady or sunny conditions. In fact, because it's a cool weather crop, it actually does better in the shade if you grow it during the hot summer months. Thanks for watching. Be sure and check out Sarah's Seed Shop, where you can find garden seeds at unbeatable prices. Enjoy the rest of the show and have a great day.
All right, all right. Back at it again. Thank you, everybody. And thanks to Sean and Allison for joining with us here on the show today. Definitely go and check out the links for them down below in the comments. Let's see here. I see Tony said hadn't come across their channel before, but just subbed, and we'll check them out. Awesome, awesome. Definitely. And like I said, go leave them a comment. Let them know that you saw them here on the Let's Get Growing show. Again, too, really awesome to see. Let's see, and he's all-star cast. That's right. All-star cast, definitely, for sure. Definitely lucky to get such amazing guests on our show. Sean and Allison, definitely two really amazing people in the gardening community, doing some really awesome things, being creative and inventive, and helping people and teaching people and doing all these sort of things through the things that they do. That's one of the great things, again, about our show and what we get to do is get to have these conversations, to get to discuss gardening, to discuss the different things that people are doing in gardening, introduce you to them, whether they're authors or other types of creators and doing different things and sharing in the gardening world. That's basically what our whole show is about. I've been blessed over the last several years to get to meet and do interviews and talk with so many really awesome people and get them to introduce them to everybody who follows our channel, The Urban Gardener. And it's really, I think, one of the best things. It's one of the things why I really kind of lean into doing this show, is because we get to have these great conversations. We get to meet these really awesome gardeners. We get to hear about where they come from, what their garden story's about, and what it really means to them to do the stuff that they do in the gardening community. For all of us out there who are just looking to be inspired, it's one of the things that we have no shortcomings of when it comes to the gardening community. There's so many awesome and amazing people out there, and I've been blessed to have followed our next guest today for many years. I'm trying to think back when was the very first time that I got to see our first guest, and he was a huge inspiration for me early on in my gardening, just by bringing the type of person he was to what he does in his videos. And that's inspiring. That's what we get to see from a lot of people. There's a lot of creators and a lot of people out there in the gardening world doing really awesome things, and our next guest is definitely a superstar when it comes to that. And so without further ado, let's move on to our featured guest.
You never know when you might learn something, and that's what this is about for me. These are people that I admire. Please welcome my next guest.
All right. And like I said, this our next guest here has been a huge inspiration for me for many years. We're really blessed to have him on the show. Let's welcome everybody, Mark Valencia from channel Self-Sufficient Me, joining us all the way from the future, way down under. It's Saturday for us. I think we're just approaching 1 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday. And here it is, bright and early, just before 6 a.m. On Sunday. And that's why I say in the future, it's Sunday for you. You're 6 a.m. tomorrow for us here. And thanks, Mark, so much for joining with us here today on the.
How you going, mate?
Yeah, doing great, doing great. Really just been looking forward to getting to have you on the show and talk all about your garden story. And, let's dig into it. I'm sure most everybody knows who you are. I mean, you've got, a really popular channel and all of that. So hopefully most people have had a chance to see who you are. But if you haven't, again, too, I always encourage people to get down in the description below for links to check out Mark. But you want to tell us a little bit about the background of Self-Sufficient Me, the channel, or actually, you know what? I think I'm getting ahead of myself. You know what? Let's dig a little bit deeper, Mark. Let's get really into the background. Where really does your whole gardening story begin? That's probably the better question, right? Where does it all really just begin? Where did you find that first inspiration?
Well, I think from my childhood, it was my grandfather that gave me the most influence. When I think back to what sort of inspired me to always want to grow some food, would have been my experiences with him. Now, my father left when I was a baby, so my mother actually, she gave birth and he got cold feet, and we never saw him again until about 30 years later, when by accident one of my uncles ran into him in a small town in central New South Wales called Lightning Ridge, where they opal mine, and he just saw him walking down the street and said, "Do you remember your son when you disappeared on all of us?" He actually ended up going to Melbourne, but he said, "Well, your son's getting married soon," and we rekindled our relationship a little bit after that. My point is, though, my grandfather was a huge influence on me because I never really had a proper dad, so I'd follow him around in the garden. And it was very natural for him and others back then. You're talking in the 70s and early 80s. It was natural for our neighborhood to be growing food. So he would grow strawberries and potatoes and all sorts of things. He started at the farm, and then he retired into the city or in a town, and he took that gardening and farming experience with him. Excuse me.
Yeah.
And even in the neighborhood, though, when we would be say playing with other kids, go and play cricket in the backyard, our neighbors would have veggie gardens, so it was a fairly natural thing for me.
Yeah, definitely get a drink there for sure. Yeah, that's one of the things for a lot of us, we get that great early family experience. I had limited experiences that I remember. I did have a short period of time where I had my grandmother. She lived in Alaska and grew a garden in a greenhouse in Alaska. And that was one of the things that really kind of fascinated me at a young age and all of that too, as well. So yeah, I love that kind of story there too about, early family. Yeah. So let's talk about something else too, real quick here. I'll try to give you a moment there. I was having the same issue earlier in the show too.
Sorry, mate, I've got a frog in the throat. We call it sparrow farts here in Australia. Like 5:30 in the morning, and I've just got a bit of a croaky voice, just waking up. You know how you wake up and you've got to clear the throat a little bit.
For sure. Yeah, exactly. I know exactly what you're talking about. And I think for me though, too, I think I was cracking from talking so much. I did a little pre-show at our normal time today. And so I was talking and talking. So by the time the beginning of this show started, I was cracking because I think I'd been talking so much already. But
you get that, don't you? When you do it, when you're in our business and you do a lot of talking, it does tend to suffer a little bit.
Yeah.
And
you always feel for those people you see on TV when that happens too, because you're like, oh, I know how that feels, because it could just sneak up at you right at any moment. When you're doing live shows or podcasting or these sort of things like this. Definitely.
I was on the morning show yesterday in Australia here. It's called Sunrise, and it was Channel 7. And you only get like a 4-minute segment in these shows. So I was hoping that my voice wouldn't fail me or something would go wrong because I was
Right.
from the backyard, and and they're giving me the countdown to saying, "Oh, Mark, you've got 4 minutes. We're in a bit of a hurry. The news is coming up soon, so please make your questions or your answers brief." And those types of things, you just wonder. That's when a disaster can happen. But on a podcast like this, you can get away with having a coughing fit and still come back and be able to talk.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but it'll catch up with us there for sure. But one of the things I wanted to talk about too, just kind of off of the gardening subject here for a minute though too. A big part of your background and everything is that you are a retired Australian Army veteran, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I am. Yeah, I spent 21 years in the military. I liked it. I had I think it stood me in good stead from an 18-year-old, very sort of green and the military is obviously very structured, which is good for a young fella. And I think it gave me a lot of skills as well. It gave me instructional skills that I could hone to what I do now. It wasn't exactly like perfect because military skills and military instruction is a lot different to, say, gardening instruction in civilian street. Because if you're rigid in civilian street, you look like a bit of a robot, and you can't come across as good. And I think in my early days of YouTube, I was trying to be too instructional because that's all I knew, and not sort of relaxed as much. Because I wasn't teaching weapon handling. I'm teaching how to grow tomatoes. But once I relaxed and got into it a bit more and just was myself rather than the instructor, which how I was taught to do things, I think people warmed to me more.
The garden kind of helped you relax a little bit on that, huh? But I think that's kind of interesting though too, because we do again tomorrow on our Sunday show we have Gardner Scott from the Gardner Scott channel. He comes on. He is a retired Air Force veteran himself, pilot, and a couple of weeks ago we had a couple of other guys on the show, Texas Gardener guy, and a couple of others who were veterans as well too. Heavenly Hills Homestead was on with us, and they're veterans as well. I think that's just really interesting, that so many veterans that we see who are in the gardening space today, because I don't know if it's a direct causal, but it's just interesting that veterans find their way into the garden space.
Well, Enoch, it's I don't think it's a mistake, or it's certainly something you gravitate towards. It's something of nature. I mean, being in the military, you do get out a lot, so you are in nature a lot, especially the army. You're going through the bush and you're in all these locations. Even on operations, you can go to some wonderful places. In the early 90s, I served for 12 months in the Sahara Desert, and that's an unforgiving place. But the beauty of nature and just the sand and what lives in it, and being part of that for so long is quite wonderful, except for the bad side of things. But I guess Vietnam would be the same. All those types of operations, you're in environments usually is where your job is in nature and outdoors, if you forget the other side of it. But then when you leave the military, you kind of yearn for the peaceful side of that nature. And that's what I was looking for, a nice little spot away from the city. And my wife and I both are veterans, and we both really yearned for that peacefulness, to get away from the hustle and bustle. And we wanted to give our kids a little bit of that peace as well, that we kind of, because you're full on for that type of job. And there's something about gardening. It don't have to be a returned serviceman or anything like that. Everybody has drama and problems in their life. I just think gardening, no matter what you do, it's that creativity of it and that zenness of it that just helps you heal so many wounds within you. And I've had hundreds of emails literally from vets and other people that have said that gardening has saved their life. And there's nothing stronger than that.
Yeah. That's and that's the truth, and we kind of touched on that a little bit with our last guest, and kind of introducing who our next guest next week is that there just so much we get from gardening, whether like our first guests who are just doing ornamentals, and all of that, we get the getting outdoors, we get that activity, we get that connecting with nature, we get the beautiful look of things, for that, or for those of us who grow food, we get all this food now too that we get as well as a reward. But one of the things I think that really seals the deal for gardeners is that kind of connection, that spiritual, emotional, kind of healing connection we get from our garden. I mean, it's amazing how we can come out of the garden with the knees aching a little bit, but yet feel so like invigorated, you know what I mean? And that's just one of the things that's amazing. We talk a lot about that in, when it comes to, gardening.
There are a lot of good points, isn't there? I mean, there's heaps of good points. I should do a video on it one day. The 10 top things that I love about gardening. I reckon that
just dig into it. You gotta get into it.
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah, I like that idea. But
yeah,
it's the soothing, it's the satisfaction too, isn't it? It'll put me to sleep at night. If I can't sleep, I don't count sheep, mate. I just think about what I did in the garden that day. And the achievement of it, whether it be fix a garden bed, sow some potatoes, and I'm thinking about how they're going to grow. And I'm always very optimistic about it. And before I know it, I'm sleeping.
Yeah, so better than counting sheep, man. You think about those potatoes, you think about all that stuff. For me, man, if I'm really having a hard time sleeping, man, I don't know. I know I saw a video for you. It's probably not as doable for you as well. I don't know, because of deadly snakes and things, but I go right out into my garden space sometimes if I can't get back to sleep. It's the middle of the night, and I'll just kind of like go out there and just meditate for a minute and just kind of soak it up in the middle of the night, and just have all the stuff around me, and just it really does help when it comes down to it, and that's just, again, too, it's just how amazing is gardening and growing, and that's one of the things too, is I was finding it out and I was discovering this stuff 12, 13 years ago, learning to do things. I was turning to YouTube and I was and again, too, all of us gardeners get into gardening and we just want to do everything. And one of my favorite things though is citrus. And I live in an area, and did live previously before, where there's a lot of challenges to the idea of growing citrus. So I turned to this Australian guy who was growing all these really cool citrus trees in his orchard, and just had this great personality, and I was hooked, man. I just started watching, and I was just like, man, I love this. I can't grow them, but I'm gonna watch and grow them through Mark's videos and all that sort of stuff. And I remember finding you many years ago. When did the YouTube channel start?
2011.
2011 makes sense. That's right around the time. So I'd say right around 2012 or so, maybe, is when I'm really kind of finding you and just really starting to get things going. I remember.
I appreciate that. You'll be one of my first followers there, because
long time
subscribers.
A long time.
And it was about I toiled at YouTube for about 4 or 5 years. So it's 2016. Where I was just about going to, well, not quit, because I enjoyed doing YouTube, but I was going to have to get a part-time job. And I don't know what that was going to be, but the boys were old enough for me not to justify staying at home without helping Nina out, my wife, with the bills. So I was going to get a part-time job, and that would have meant taking away from YouTube. But that's be it.
Tony from Simplified Gardening was mentioning this too, because I was remembering back to this time as well. I don't know, he said 2013, but
2013. Okay. How you going, Tony?
Yeah, exactly. But I remember this time too, and again too, when I come to think about it, because I had this very similar moment too, and I remember those videos. I remember just actually, this is what I remember, Mark. Was here I am, I'm following along, I'm living vicariously this Australian citrus dream through Mark's Self-Sufficient Me channel, and all of a sudden, like nothing was coming out. And I was like, wait a minute, where'd he go? Where'd he go? And I'm like, I'm putting in Mark, where'd you go? Mark, you know, and then I remember it was a little while, and I can't remember how long it was. It was that long ago, but there was a little while later you came back on, and I think it was just for a little, even a short period of time, even. And this is just what I remember. You can tell me if I'm right or wrong, but then I remember you just kind of saying, hey, I got these decisions I got to make.
Yeah.
Now, you know, it's either going to be this or it's going to be that. And I've got to make this decision. So if I'm going to do this, I have to go in it with my whole heart. I got to go into it. I got to dedicate myself to this thing, or I've got to go and do this. And I can't remember exactly what that was, but I remember that. And then just kind of another kind of short period of time of like, oh, what did he decide? What did he decide? You know? And then boom, you came back on, and it was just like, you could tell you made that decision.
Yeah, it was a tough decision at the time, you know, because I really didn't want to leave YouTube. I was enjoying it, and I still do. I like in our trade, the pros will tell you, the people that want to help you stay on YouTube and do YouTube. One of the things they'll tell you is you need to get away from editing videos, because that takes you away from creating content, and it takes a long time sitting on your bum editing videos where you could be creating more and giving that task to an editor. But I can tell you, I enjoyed putting a video together, from filming it, you know, to the process of creating the story behind what I'm going to film, then filming it, and then putting that together. I enjoyed the whole lot. So it was a difficult decision to after doing it for about 4 or 5 years, to say, well, I might have to leave this because, look, it's not bringing in any bickies, and do something else that I probably wouldn't be overly happy with. But like a lot of us, you know, you still got to bring in something to survive. You've got a family, or even just yourself, the cost of living these days. But I'm glad that my supporter base, it just sort of wrapped around me, gave me a heap of encouragement. And then, you know, I started earning enough to be able to make it a part-time job, and then a full-time job, and now a family business. So how lucky is that? I mean, it's just awesome.
Yeah. You know, and that's the thing too. And again, became that kind of inspiration, because I remember that I was like, wow, he really set his mind and and just recently in the last, you know, year and a half, 2 years, is kind of, I've been doing my YouTube now for about 7 years or so, but it's only been the last couple of years I've kind of had to make that same kind of thing. And I kind of fell back to remembering you and what that was, and the process, and what you thought about it, and then what you did to do, you know, to respond. And hopefully, you know, in my sense of doing that, then I can make that hopefully a decent enough type of move forward, where there's a, you know, some better income, you know, because I know what it's like. I'm sure you, like, you know, you're saying your channel wasn't any bigger than mine now back then, you know, and then to see what you've done with that, you know, just inspiring and letting your garden inspire you, let your, you know, that push you forward and motivate you, and it's just really great, you know. And I just again, you know, I did want to just make sure to let you know that too, you know, and I'm glad Tony brought it up as well, is that time was really kind of, I think, big for a lot of people, even other creators like Tony at Simplified Gardening and all of that as well too.
Exactly. None of us, there's very rare to get overnight success on YouTube. You hear about it. I mean, they're the sensationalized ones, that someone puts out one viral video and then all of a sudden they're mega. You have to work hard, toil, to eventually get there and build a catalog of videos that can sustain you on the platform, and other places. I think YouTube's probably the most forgiving place, than the other platforms, but it's still. No matter what, you have to work hard at it. And Tony's a good example, as well as Kevin from Epic Gardening. Those guys, you know, they're big gardening channels, and they're fantastic gardeners, and they write books. I haven't written a book yet. Tony's written several, and they're great books.
Yeah. We just had him on for our Book of the Month Club for
I
his
don't
newest,
know
for
how
his
they
newest
get
book.
time, how they get the time to do it. But
I wonder myself too.
what happens though is they just work hard and they get there, just like you. And I was attracted to this podcast because I looked back at your catalog and I saw how much work you put into these shows. It's not easy to do this.
No.
And to get people together for a start, get hosts on your show, then get this framework done so that it looks all professional, and then manage it. And it's not an easy thing to do. You have to have a passion to do this. And often you're not that successful monetarily for quite a while before you can start getting a grip.
Yeah. And hopefully, especially, with having, gardeners like yourself on and the other great guests we've had. I mean, people can just go look back at our, like you said, our catalog of live guests just for this show, and what it takes to put together this sort of thing is, and I appreciate you saying that for sure. There is a lot of good work, but that was kind of one of those things that was part of that process where I had to think about like, well, what am I going to do? If I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it this way. And I intend to make it look professional. But it's going to take all that work, dude. You got to do it, and that's just kind of that sort of thing. And that was that same process. And I was like, well, if Mark can do it and Mark can get in and do and turn around, I'm telling you, man, I think, I really think about that a lot. And I just really appreciate the inspiration you've been for those of us like that. Again, like I said, Tony as well too, and others of us who've done this, but also to all of those people who are so inspired to click subscribe, who continue to follow all of your videos, because your videos are just power packed with inspiration every time. You just have a great personality for that.
Thanks, man. Thank you.
Absolutely. So let's talk about the garden. Let's get right into it. I mean, we got you here. We're going to talk about that garden space. For a lot of people who have followed your channel, we've got to watch it evolve and change and grow over and come back down and do all sorts of things over a period of time and everything. Let's talk a little bit about your garden space. And when was it that you, when was it that you actually, first came to that garden space? Is this a home you've had for a long time?
Yeah, it's since 2006.
Okay.
So it was kind of a plan. I left the military in 2008.
Okay.
My wife stayed on to work full time. I became a home dad, but we decided that we would buy some property, especially before I left the military, or one of us left. At that time, we didn't know who was going to leave, but we knew that we were both going to leave eventually. So we wanted to secure a little piece of land. We wanted something closer actually to the city in a place called Sanford, which was a really nice sort of boutique acreage area, which we knew would have good land value in the future and all that, but we couldn't afford out there. So we went further north of the city, about 45 k's to a place called Caboolture or Belmere, and we found a little plot of land there, 3 acres here, and we ended up being able to afford this, and so then it was 2 years later then I left the military in 2008, and then started growing as much as possible. And I've said many times that story, it was monetarily really because we dropped down to essentially one wage, and I wanted to grow as much food as possible to save on money, save on groceries. And you shouldn't have 3 acres of land, I mean at least 2 of it usable, without actually using it. I think it's a sin just to leave just to leave it as lawn.
For me, with the space I've got and how much I wish I could grow, I have very limited space. If I saw somebody and they got all this space, I'm like, oh, I look at it. I drive by these plots all the time, and I'm like, man, I could grow this, and I just go down. My imagination keeps going with that space. I'm like, oh, it is a sin completely.
Yeah, I mean, I have land envy too. I go driving around here and you see all these farms and stuff, 30 acres, 40 acres, and never got there, probably never will. But I would have liked
that would be some work. Yeah.
Oh, it would be, yeah, exactly.
If you were able to have a good team and that sort of thing to get things together, then maybe something where you could just kind of let your your imagination run and people could help you put it together would be awesome. But I've always thought like what I would do, because I wouldn't want like a single crop monocrop type large farm, but if I had like a large farm, and imagine like all the different things I could do and all that.
You can definitely do more on a few acres than you can on a inner city block. But the beauty of gardening is whether or not you've got a balcony or an inner city block or an acreage or a farm, you know, and there's only so much you can do on a big farm too. If you want to set up like we've got, it's still only 15 meters by 40 meters, the veggie garden. Behind me here. It's still only that because like you said, unless you've got big farm machinery and then you're getting into proper farming and you're monocropping and that, which is not obviously something that I would like to do.
No, not at
God
all.
bless those people that do it because we need to eat as a world.
Needs it,
But it wasn't for me. But
like I said, small space gardeners, we've got big imaginations, so when you think about bigger spaces like that, you can run wild.
So whatever you've got, you can make use of though.
Exactly.
And grow food for a food
I started on a balcony in an apartment, and expanded from there. I take as much space as I can whenever.
And Enoch, I'm even just still growing inside too, just experimenting with things, growing it on the kitchen bench, and still growing some herbs and mini tomatoes and things. So I'm always looking at growing in smaller spaces maybe that's a bit of training for one day, not very soon, but one day in the future. Maybe I might get too old for this or retire, and if I'm in a unit or something, I want to be able to grow things.
Yeah, you do. Exactly. Let's see here. Oh, we did have a question here. Oh, Hans asks, have you met Weedy Garden?
Oh,
He's in Australia too. Yeah. He has a great channel too.
We do have collaboration. He's been hassling me on the emails.
Yeah. You know us guys love to do some.
Very persistent. He wants to get together. He's down south, and probably 1,000 or so, maybe not that much from us. About 600 miles from us. So we'll get together. I see his videos. He's very creative and he's quite professional at the way he puts his videos together. So it'd be nice to work with him even on that sense to learn a few things.
Yeah, definitely. He would probably be really great. I do like that really creativity. I try to be as creative as I can, and I've gone through evolutions of that through my video making phase of how creative I am and what I do. And every now and then I've got it. Editing's fun for me. I love kind of playing around and doing that sort of stuff. But sometimes I just do a little too much, and that's kind of been my goal lately, is to pull back, dude. I mean, there's some stuff we could do, have fun with, but not so much. You know what I mean? So
yeah. I've been through all those.
You gotta find that happy medium.
I'm still trying. Yeah. Some things work, some things don't. You just have a go.
Yeah, exactly. Tony says he's a great photographer.
Yeah.
True. Right on. Yeah. Okay. So let's see here as well too. So the garden space you came to just soon after that. You were growing a garden. I'm sure that was just intentional. You bought a house. You're going to grow a garden, right?
Yeah.
Was it because the channel wasn't? I'm sure that's just something that kind of evolved over time. Because I mean, YouTube's really new at the time, all of that. How did you just kind of come with that idea? Like, okay, I'm gardening now, I'm growing this garden. Let me try this YouTube thing. Because it was really new then. I mean, you were some of us feel like we're taking a risk nowadays, but back then that was real, actually risk. But it was just kind of one of those, those things. It was just kind of like, I'm going to put myself out there. It was different for people.
Yeah. It was a bit of a leap. I have to say, I I did see a potential in a digital market and a digital career, only just an inkling of it. I wasn't thinking at the time I'm going to really make a business out of this. It was more sharing information because I had that empathy. I just had this empathy for people, I think mostly at the time, that I went through a real phase of trying to learn to grow, and it took me years, 3 or 4 years. Veggie gardening isn't that hard, but I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. And so it took me quite a bit of time to learn it. So that 2006, when we got here, right, I put garden beds up straight away. It was just 4 sleepers. And I just tried growing from then. Even though I had experience through my grandfather and all that, I really didn't know how to grow. I was just watching him picking things and doing things in the garden. I wasn't learning a lot. So I had to learn a fair bit of that stuff from buying books and going on YouTube myself and going online. So yeah, the process, the whole process, took a while to get going. And I thought I would love to get more people involved in this. And so, and I thought an easy way to do it would be just to film it and document it and then show people who might not, to maybe shortcut it a little bit.
Yeah.
So my idea was, to do instructional videos so that people could find out just how I did it. And if I could do it, surely they can, because I was feeling like, that's just what I wanted to do, is share it around. And the other thing was my wife, because I started to get well practiced at gardening and making things and making preserve, Nina would sort of be hearing these same stories. So I'd have people come over for a barbie, and she would, and they would say, Mark, how'd you grow this cauliflower? This is beautiful. How'd you do that? Why is your citrus growing so well? And I would go through the same sort of process and story, and bore Nina and most people to tears who'd heard it before. And so she said one day, why don't you just write a blog? And so instead of describing everything, how to make mulberry jam, just say, well, I've actually done a recipe on my website, Brian, go there. And I thought that's a great idea. So I started documenting on the website, and it was that in 2011 I created Self-Sufficient Me. And then I thought, well, I might as well do the YouTube channel at the same time and hopefully kind of link them together. So that's pretty much how it came through. Nothing special, was the thought process.
Yeah. Well, that's great. We're all glad that you did, and then years later decided to make it a real thing. It's been something else. When was that moment? I mean, because we really get to, and I know there's a lot of creators who watch our shows and all that sort of stuff out there and look up to you and all of that. When was that moment that here you are trucking along, you're making content, it's only doing so much. But when was that moment when you were like, holy smokes, something's going on here? Like things just started moving.
Yeah, it was really clear. It was, look, first of all, I don't know how I'll manage to get 10,000 subscribers, but people are very forgiving out there, especially in the States. I had probably out of my 10,000, I reckon 8,000 of them would have been from the USA. And I look back at my videos then, those early days, I don't know if I'd watch me. It's just awful. But people were so generous at giving not only their eyeballs and time, but they were subscribing to me and watching me, like I said in the early days, toiling along. So that was lucky to be able to have that 10,000. And I think having those people stand with me and watching what I put out helped when I actually did a really, I think, decent video, was my how to grow a ton of lemons. And when I devised that video, it was exactly that, Enoch. I was thinking, this is great, 10,000 subscribers, this and that, but how do I get more traction? And I evaluated my videos, and I felt like I was too rigid, too army instructional. And it wasn't me, it was a facade. It was like, here's how I'm growing this, and this is how you cook a quail. And
exactly.
And I thought, you know what? Let's try to just talk like someone's there with me, and
Yeah.
not like stage fright into the camera. And
Yeah.
let's just imagine they're people,
Yep.
and let's just relax a bit. And how would I tell my mates who come over, how'd you grow this lemon? And I was thinking
Love it.
the easiest way would be to go, let's give them my five top tips. And then I just went through that in front of the lemon tree, and it came out so much more natural. And then I posted that video, and pretty much bombed. Nothing happened. Nothing happened. And but I was happy with it, and I thought myself, I liked it myself.
Yeah.
So out of all the videos I did up to then, probably 100, I was thinking, no, I'm happy with
Love
that.
that, Mark. That's so great.
Yeah. And then we flew to, we had to go to Scotland. We had a friend who was getting married, first time married in his 50s. So, and he finally met his dream girl, and they were getting married, and he happened to be he was in the Scottish Army. And if you're in the Scottish Army, I didn't know this, but you can book Edinburgh Castle out if you want for your wedding. It was just a massive thing. So we said, we've got to go to Edinburgh Castle for this wedding. This is going to be awesome. So we flew over, and on the way we stopped in Dubai, and I got my phone and I tapped into the Wi-Fi at the airport then, so there'd be nothing for 12 hours or something. And my phone just went dingity ding ding. Wow. All these messages from YouTube. Congratulations, you got your first 1,000 likes on a video. And then half an hour later, congratulations, you got your first 10,000 likes on the video.
Wow.
That lemon video, that lemon tree video just skyrocketed.
Yeah.
And before long, I had 80 or something thousand subscribers in a matter of months. And so I mean, you can be one video literally away from kind of getting propelled on YouTube. So it's definitely worth hanging in there if that's what you're passionate about and you love doing. It's definitely worth hanging in there, because that's what happened to me. And I'd say that moment clicked for me, that I need to, this is what people are telling me, not the algorithm. It's what people are telling me. I need to do more like that. And I would be more entertaining and successful, and more get the message across more for people, and more people would watch it. And that's what happened.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel that too, because I myself have kind of struggled on that level as well too. How do I present myself? Am I trying to teach and be this teacher and instruct, boom, 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 or do I just enjoy having people in my garden with me, and I'm doing all of this stuff, so I might as well show you. You know what I mean? And so kind of taking that, I like that, because I've enjoyed that from other channels I've watched, like your channel and that sort of thing, is that a person just taking you along with them. Yes, there's some instructional that comes in there. Yes, there's some things that happen along the way, but for the most part, it's a garden adventure together, and you get to come and be in my garden with me. And that was a serious moment of change for me too, because I like what you said there too. Before the big action happened with all the likes and all that sort of stuff, it was about how you felt when you made that video, and it was like, oh wow, I really made something good here. You know what I mean? And I remember that feeling too. Like, it was just kind of like, okay, I've been doing this, but when I saw that and I finished editing, and maybe it doesn't go anywhere right now, maybe it doesn't even, but maybe it's that one. You know what I mean? And when I start feeling like that about what I'm making and what I'm putting together on that level, it kind of changes things in your outlook and how you do it. And then the presentation changes, and you become who you are.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And it's nothing to discount either, like 10,000 subscribers and 5,000.
Oh, no, not at all.
Like, 5,000 doesn't seem a lot on YouTube when you're surrounded maybe by videos that have millions of views. But if you put those 5,000 people in an auditorium or something, that's a lot of people that's watching the video. So, small creators, they should be heartened by a few thousand views.
Oh yeah,
But
big time. And
yeah,
I think a lot of people do, and I think that's a lot of the sort of thing that we're kind of trying to do here with this show and other shows that we're connected with and other creators is really just at this level, really, encouraging folks and people to continue doing the things that they enjoy doing and those sort of things. And then eventually, maybe you're going to be one of those ones that'll catch on to something. But then maybe you're just going to be a part of our community and we're just going to do this. I've had this conversation for quite a while about success, and the idea of what I thought would be success for this show. Of course, I would love to have, some hundred thousands of subscribers and really be just getting some real things going. I think that would be great. But then I sit there and think about like, the community that I have and the people I have and how connected I am with the people who are really close to me at this level I'm at right now, and how that would change too as that evolves. And I'm sure that was kind of big for you too when that sort of started happening. The community started changing because
yeah, it's got the negativity is you can't then answer everyone in the comment section. You get 2,000 comments on a video. Because I spend hours going through answering comments every week, and you hardly make a dent in some of them, especially in the videos, which I like to concentrate on that, even though you still like to, you get the odd comment on an older video, you'd like to acknowledge that with a heart or something. At least they know that you've read it. But on the new videos, you try to at least get engaged, and you've got 1,000 comments, you can't answer them all, which is kind of disappointing because there's lots of people, especially in our gardening community on YouTube, there's lots of really great comments all the time that I learned from. So I definitely read lots of them. I don't get to answer and heart them all, but you're mad if you don't, because the knowledge that's in our gardening community on YouTube is immense. And the things that I've learned in the comments section underneath my own videos, that's helping me every day to get better in my own garden.
Yeah, exactly. And that's again too why we are, and work as a community though too, is to kind of share and do that sort of stuff, and be there for each other to build and to do things even better in our garden spaces, encourage newer gardeners to get involved with this, because as we mentioned earlier in the conversation, that there's just a lot of magic that comes along with gardening, and so much more we get from just the hobby or the work of doing it, so it's great again to be able to follow along with people, and especially yourself. And again too, like I said, I'm sure those challenges are really tough too when it comes to really connecting with people like you used to and all of that. But one of the things I was thinking about too is like live streaming. Like for you, I mean, it would be so hard, like to do live streaming at that level, I suppose, and be able to connect with people and all that too. How have you found that? I know you've tried doing a few.
Yeah, I'm still doing. I mean, I'm not regular. I should be. I'd love to do it once a week. My style. I wouldn't be able to have the time, I think, to set up like a professional show like you've got. So I stream from the backyard. And it took me a while to get that nutted out. My first, 12 months of trying to live stream from the backyard, I just didn't have a good enough internet connection, and I can't really wire it. And I wanted it to be as natural as possible and as easy as possible. So I actually got an engineer out to develop my outdoor Wi-Fi, so that from now at least we can stream usually without any problems and dropouts. And I've been enjoying it, getting people out into the backyard and just showing them live, and whatever happens. Sometimes it rains, sometimes it's too windy and things go wrong, which is sort of part of live streaming, which is I think is nice about it. And even like a show like this, you might be umming and ahhing a bit through it, but you can explore and get through conversation and expand it out a bit more than usual, than you scripted in a video or a quick
Yeah.
reply to a comment or something like that. So yeah, I do love the live streaming. I just wish that I could do it more. I just haven't had a lot of time to get that more regular. But I am slowly getting there though.
Yeah. It's got to be a challenge. I mean, all that sort of stuff, even yourself, you got a lot of stuff going on. I really like the reels and stuff too, the little things that you're putting together, and a lot of those really great things and all of that too. So there's a lot of work going on with what you're doing.
Yeah.
So
I
live streaming, I can imagine, is tough for putting the time together. So I had a couple of questions here real quick for you, Mark. I'm going to jump in here before we get too far out. LP jumped in a little bit earlier and asked, what's Mark's favorite thing to record? And is that a cockatoo in the background? Are they pests?
Well, the cockatoos can be pests. They took every pecan off our pecan tree this season. And they take them off when they're green, and they don't even eat them, which is really annoying. So they'll just pick them all off and throw them on the ground. It just infuriates me. So they're a pest in that
I
sense.
saw what was it, those same birds? I saw a clip not too long ago where they were just tearing the lettuce apart.
Oh yeah.
And they were just tearing lettuce apart and just leaving it around, and you were like, you had to like chase them from so far away off or whatever. It got there and they're just spread, like they weren't even eating it.
That's right. Yeah, the little buggers. So, but I suppose you could call them a pest, but they're a beautiful animal and a lovely bird. And the way that we get pecans is we have to knock the tree down quite a bit. So probably at the moment it's a good 5 to maybe even 10 meters tall. I need to knock that back to about 4 meters and let the tree, so that I can at least net most of that tree or bag the nuts, and then you're safe. It's the same with the fruit bats and the possums. Everything wants your food, and you can't blame them because it's organic, it's beautiful, lovely tasting and plump fruit and veg. Who wouldn't want it? So you can't blame the animals, but you can block them off from coming in. And what was the other thing in that question? My favorite thing to film?
What's your favorite thing to film?
Yeah, it would be the garden in full, the garden walkarounds in full. When it's at full capacity, and we had a really wet summer. I can show you if I went out now. It is just still a mud patch out the back third. So from where you see the gourd tunnel at the back, down to the banana trees, is just all mud. I need gumboots to walk around there. So it's still seeping out of the hill basically because we had such a wet summer. It's starting to slowly dry up now. But so the garden's not looking its best at all, and we are in prime season. But luckily, we've got several months of prime season. So I should be able to get that garden up and running in the next 6 weeks or so. And things grow fast here. And that's when I think I'll do a nice little walk around and show the garden and the veggie patch in its glory. And then at this time of year, being winter in the subtropics, where all our citrus are plump and ripening. And so that'd be nice to show, a dozen, 2 dozen citrus trees, especially for you, to show off and
yes, I know,
show them in their glory as well at the best time of year.
I love that, and I love doing those similar types of videos too. I find though the challenge being like there's so much I want to talk about, so much I want to show, and I come back to the editing and I go, oh my gosh, look at all this footage. How am I going to squeeze this down to something people will watch? Is this going to be 3 or 4 parts? I don't know. It's just
yeah. I think leave it in one part, but
you definitely got to.
Cut out the more of the rambling. I'd sometimes shoot these with 2 cameras now, so that I can swap between and keep it a bit interesting. You get the perspective from the back, and then you get the camera that's closer to you that you're walking around with, and that helps it keep a little bit more interesting.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's see. Let's drop in another question here real quick. Serena asked just a little bit ago too. What are your favorite things to grow to attract pollinators and other beneficial insects? Because you got all that citrus, you got all these flowering things out there. You need to have a lot of pollinators in your garden, right?
Yeah, and they do attract the insects. So that's one thing. It's natural for those fruiting trees, like citrus especially, because they can be. It looks like the ground's snowing sometimes through spring when the citrus are all in flower because the petals fall off onto the ground. It's magnificent, and the smell
is amazing.
Attracts all the insects in. But for the veggie garden, I like nasturtiums. They're a really good flower to grow, and you can eat them too. I don't particularly like them. They do look nice in a salad, the flowers particularly, but I think they're a bit too, I don't know, wasabi tasting, peppery for me. I just don't like them in a salad. Don't like the taste of them, but they grow really easy and they come back every season, and so then it's just a matter of transplanting them around the garden. But I love them because they do attract the bees into your garden, and then that can help pollinate your tomatoes or eggplants or zucchinis or whatever you've got flowering at the time in there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Again, too, one of the things I was talking about earlier with our other guest is that, getting more flowers and all of that in order to encourage more pollinators into my garden, because I want as many as I can to get active on everything. And it was really, it's one thing to have the veggie flowers themselves, you know, but when you got all these other flowers and all these other things, you're really inviting a real plethora of pollinators, and you can ensure that each one of them. And I noticed when I started introducing more flowers to my garden spaces, pollination rates, my harvest rates were going up from different things that I was growing. I was like, I was like, wow, I mean, this is way more than I got last year, And the one thing I could say is that there were just more flowers in my garden and more flowering native plants and bushes and things like that as well too, that I try to get placed around that just really invigorate them. And then and then some herbs, right? You'd let some herbs go to flower. I'd let some oregano go to flower. I've never seen bees dance better than around some flowering oregano, right?
Yeah, I think the smell must attract them.
Just amazing
from herbs, especially.
Or like if you see lavender, bees will go crazy over that.
Yeah. Marigolds as well help attract good insects, and then you can chop them at the end of the season and dig them back into the garden bed, and that helps deter nematodes and soil pests. So there's a double thing that you can do for them.
Yeah, that's great. Awesome. What are some of your favorite things to grow in your garden, though? I mean,
I like the nightshade family. So
okay.
Tomatoes is probably my favorite. I just love eating them, never get sick of them. And there's so many different ways you can prepare tomatoes, from just fresh sliced to cooking them up and making sauces and all that, and adding them to other things like peppers, hot peppers, and making those types of sauces as a filler for a casserole or something like that. So I like tomatoes. I like eggplant. Same family. Or aubergines. Do they call them in England? I think aubergines, or is that what you guys call them?
Ooh, yeah. Eggplant. Aubergines, I think is what it is.
Yeah. I do love them. I think they preserve particularly well. I love Italian antipastos, and eggplant would have to be one of my favorites. Whether you grill it and then preserve it in olive oil, or whether you have it raw and preserve it in olive oil, salt it first. I really love the taste of it and the preserve qualities of it. Potatoes. I think that's a good staple. I'll probably eat too much carbohydrate, but I just can't help it. I love it.
Yeah, I know. I'm with you on that for sure.
Yeah. So definitely the nightshade family for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those three are the main ones.
I do really like them. And I like you mentioned eggplant there too. I'm different though. I don't really, and I've tried some. I mean, there's some eggplant parmesans I've had really good. I've tried a few different other ways that some people have cooked some stuff for me. And it's good, but for the most part, I never really cared for eggplant. But growing the plants are like one of my favorite plants in the garden. They're just so cool. They're big leaves. They get all spiky and they got the cool fruits and just, they're just a cool plant to have in the garden. So I love growing those just so I can give them to all of my friends who do like eggplant.
We have the turkey berry, which is ancestor of the eggplant. They grow like a weed, well, they are a weed, and they grow naturally around our area as a weed. But the Thais use the little eggplants or fruit off them in Thai cooking, like a pad Thai, something like that. And so, but they can be a bit bitter. So I think you soak them in salty water and then add them to the dish, it's better. But it's quite fascinating how we've come from these massive eggplants, all started from these tiny little green things on these big plants with all the spikes and everything on them. They look like big tobacco plants, but they're just slightly different and produce slightly different fruit.
Yeah, they're really cool. Anything one of the things I love asking people though too is sometimes it's tough to think of, but any like your least favorite thing to grow? Is there something you've grown and you're just like, you know what, I'm not gonna do that again?
Oh well, yeah, Brussels sprouts.
Okay,
I don't even know why I tried to grow them because I don't like eating them. I tried that. I don't mind. I like kale, and there was this plant that I tried a few years ago. It was brew kale, so it was a cross between Brussels sprouts and kale, and had these. But the problem with our area being a warm climate is you do need a long growing season to grow Brussels sprouts well, and the growing season has to be fairly cool. Can't be too hot. So you can get the Brussels sprouts until growing into spring, and then it gets too hot and they wither and the pests attack them. So I've given up even trying, but I don't even know why I bothered because I don't like them. My mother tried forcing me to eat them when I was a kid. She still laughs about it now, and I don't care how much mashed potato you want to mix with Brussels sprouts, and it still tastes awful.
Well, I don't know. I've had some I like, or maybe we're again too on the little opposite end of this too, because I think they're okay on that sort of sense, but I'm still kind of up for the challenge. They've been a challenge. I did have one good year, and it was because I just kind of accidentally did something and discovered something. So I keep trying to emulate that each year and failing over the last couple of years, because like you said, it really, I think the challenge is for me is to get them early. They're like one of those, they take such a long season, but they really want the longer cold season. For my area, it works almost perfect. Is if I can get them started early summer, get them started early summer and somehow get them through that summer, the heat, the bugs, all that. If I can somehow do that, then they're free to go. They're off and running. But that's the challenge. You've got to get through that. It's like it's kind of like a gauntlet in a sense, these poor little things just got to make it through this summer gauntlet and then they're ready to roll. But it's tough to do that. It's so tough because they need that longer season, and it kind of almost required for them.
I wish there are some crops like garlic that I wish I was in another climate, because I love garlic, but garlic is tricky to grow here for that same reason. That's easier probably for you to grow, is that it has a more cooler climate It likes a cooler.
Needs a cooler. Yeah, needs it a little cooler. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the challenge though too, is because here I'm starting it. I even started it early with like my early brassicas for us, coming out of winter. So I'm starting it up with my early brassicas, but this is where I kept running into the trouble is summer again. They got to make it through summer, because we're looking to try to get that long season because they're not going to sprout. I mean, for me at least, I can never get them to sprout good sprouts, until they made it through the summer and got to that fall cool time.
Right.
So then I went back to doing them early summer versus trying to do them so early, because that way because by the time they're that size though during the summertime, you want to talk about attracting every single pest, aphids, white flies, just everything wants Brussels sprouts.
Oh yeah, that's right. Caterpillars especially.
Oh,
white,
those leaves take such a beating.
White moth. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Let's see if we get in here. I only got a minute. I'm going to just try to jump in here real quick. Let's run through just a couple of questions real quick here. I don't want to take up your whole day. We're running the end of our. What's that?
You're right, mate. Yeah. I've got all the time in the world. It's early morning here.
All right. Well, cool then. We'll kind of run through some of these questions here. I like to try to get to them, but let's see here. LP asked a little bit earlier, what's it like to be called the Steve Irwin of gardening? I'm sure you get that a lot from a lot of us from outside of Australia, huh?
Get it a bit. It's an honor, of course. What a legend!
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm nowhere in his league, but yeah, what an absolute legend. We got invited to the Irwin's Gala Ball. Last year.
I saw that. Yeah, I saw some content on that.
Yeah, it was really good. They're a wonderful
awesome
family.
Yeah, I follow the kids. I follow the kids on their Instagrams and stuff, so I get their reels.
Yeah, about the environment and about the animals and what they do. You just love the passion. Yeah.
But and the thing is I know it's being a little humble and all of that, but for a lot of us gardeners out there and people who watch your channel and see where you become it through, as we've talked about through this conversation, all that are completely inspired by you. And again, too, I know you say it's an honor to be, it's absolutely an honor. And we all do really kind of think of you in that sort of way in the gardening world. You are our Steve Irwin because you bring that same passion, that same sort of passion to gardening. Instead of holding up a crocodile, you're holding up a squash, you know what I mean? Instead of holding up a whatever, you got that same sort of great Australian passion and personality and do that same sort of thing. And what a blessing, to actually be in that league, because I say you are for sure.
Thanks,
again too, those just so again, like you said, was really sad. It was probably one of the saddest days. Again, I grew up. Steve Irwin was my man. So many. I loved animal shows. I loved animal shows growing up. But Steve, when I can't even remember what age I was, but I remember when he kind of popped on the scene. It was just that's when things just kind of changed. It was like, wow, this guy is something else. You know what I mean? And just influenced generations and still influencing generations through his kids too.
He was the first one of a kind, someone who was exciting and presented that passion and let it ooze out so that it gripped the viewer and people around him. But then he also had that knowledge. So it was his knowledge as well as the entertainment side of it that gripped you, because he came out with all these facts on the spur of the moment as he's tackling a crocodile and he's talking about how it lives and the scales, and he's got this deadly snake, and he talks about one particular fact of how that snake does something different than other snakes, and it's just amazing wealth of knowledge as well as that entertainment factor. But yes, it's nice to be compared. I'm glad that my passion of gardening does shine through. It was always there, but in the early days, I didn't realize that. I thought not being myself would be better, to be that presenter, but that's all I knew. And I had to, I guess my subscriber base and audience had to get that personality out of me that was always there when I was off camera, then to put that on camera. And I'm that's really good. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And like Jersey Girl said there, he was amazing. And again, too, a lot of us in the gardening community think what you do is amazing as well, too. Let's see here. Again, questions coming in real quick. I think everybody was hearing like talking about talking about ending there, and they're like, "Oh, jump in real quick before we get in there." So let's see. Next one. Nicole Smith Gardening asked, "Does Australia have the squash vine borer? Have you got that squash vine borer?"
No, I haven't heard of it. Haven't heard
Yeah.
of it. We do have other pests though, and one of the worst is the Queensland fruit fly, and we have the Mediterranean fruit fly, which was introduced to Queensland, and it flourishes in this environment, and they attack the zucchini and squash, and can then they lay an egg, and that egg hatches out a maggot that bores to the center of the fruit, and then it rots it from the center out, the mongrel thing. And so to get around that, you can grow them kind of a little bit out of season and grow them when in the coolest part of the year, in the subtropics. It's not so much of a problem down south, but to get around that, you can grow them coolest part of the year and give them a good sunny spot and some protection, and you can get some good zucchini out of them. But yeah, there's always challenges. I would say again, maybe look at bagging the fruit if you've got something that bores into the fruit, or even netting that whole plant and then pollinating by hand. Go through that trouble. It's not that hard to get the male flower and pollinate the female flowers, and then cover it with a net or something that will prevent that bug from getting in there, and then getting a crop.
Yeah, that's excellent. Let's see here, Sorensen. I can't remember. Do you grow elderberry?
No, we don't here. Lots of other berries.
Yeah.
No, not elderberry.
No elderberry. Let's see here. Okay. Middle-aged mama asked, do you find it challenging to come up with new content after doing YouTube for so many years now? That's a pretty good question. I mean, that's got to be something. I mean, you've done so many videos, so to try to be fresh, or do you have a problem? I mean, for me, it was like I had to find kind of being comfortable a little bit more with just doing things again. Doing another video, talk about it, because, maybe that one's been around a couple of years. Maybe I should get a refresher, that sort of thing.
Yeah, you can definitely do that. I do repeat some of my subjects, and some of the tips get repeated a lot because they're just sort of long-lasting gardening tips that you just know and you just keep handing out. But I don't have a problem with content at all. I've got too many ideas. It's just so massive. I put it on my phone. I just go into the notes, and at the moment there's probably 300-400 video ideas that I want to produce.
Still want to produce. Yeah.
So I've got heaps of ideas and videos that I want to create, and I never feel like writer's block or video block at all. That's not ever a problem for me. It's how do I get them all out there? And like I alluded to before, guys in the industry would say, you need help, Mark. If you want to grow, like say Kevin at Epic Gardening, he's got a team of about 27, 30 people, and you pay and all that.
For sure.
I don't think he's a young fella. He's great at his game. And but I don't think I can at this time of my life develop a team like that. I don't think I want to. I'm happy to have a smaller team. Me and my two boys at the moment, they work for me, one full-time, one part-time, and my wife also helps with the administration. So
awesome.
That's that, and we have a someone that helps out with our forum, Mandy. And then we've got our website editor, Celia. So, yeah, I do have that type of help, which I think is enough.
Yeah.
But to be able to bring out all that content that I'd love, I'd need to ramp up a team. But at the moment, I'm just going to have to struggle and pick the best I can and just bring out as many as possible. And I have been putting out more content lately because I have been getting help from my sons, being able to take away some of that administration, and Nina, and also helping me in the garden now too. So Luke has been out in the garden. He's 18. He's been pruning and he's been mulching, a lot of those menial tasks that I still like doing, but that's been freeing me up to just go out, plant, film, and edit. And so it's been a big help, and that's why I've been able to get a few more videos out lately. And so hopefully that trend continues and I can get through my list.
Yeah, that's great though. You know, you got the good family help, you know, it's the base of your team that you do have. It's a small one and keeps things on your level, you know, which is great. I think what did Tony said here? Kevin is on another level, which is pretty much the truth when it comes to that. And, you know, we all love to be there in some ways, but in some other ways, it's like, wow, that's just got to be a lot, you know? And, yeah. And then again, too, like the ideas and all that sort of stuff too. And again, I think about that myself. I'm like, I wish I had more people to help me do this, do that, because I've got all those ideas too. I've got crazy amount of ideas I'd love to be able to get to and do. And maybe someday, you know, we're just taking it, you know, one day at a time and enjoying our garden every day as much as we can and sharing that with everybody out there who, you know, is, you know, taking the time to come over and follow along with us here too. So, you know, right on. So let me see here. I'm not sure. I've been trying to see if there was one. Thought there was one maybe I was missing, but I think I got through most of the questions I saw. But anyways, Mark, I mean, how awesome. I mean, I've really been looking forward to this. I was telling people, I'm like, oh man, I'm really nervous. I got Mark on the show. I've been following him for so long, and people like, and I don't think people get that sort of thing. And then, you know, here I think about too, other people who come on the show too. So they tell me like, oh, I'm so nervous about doing it. I'm like, well, you shouldn't be nervous. It's just a gardening show, you know, that sort of thing. But here I am. I'm like, man, because, you know, like I said, I've really admired you and your whole story and your whole channel and everything for so many years. And when I started this whole idea, when you talk about having a list of ideas, right? Well, when you start a show like this, you got to have a list of guests. Who do you want on this show? You know, so I started listing down everything. And of course the lists are, you know, range from like, here's like, oh, could I get these people? I don't know. These people, you know, this sort of that. So I write all these lists, but at the top was always Mark Valencia. I've got to have him on the show. So, you know, I just want you to know that you really made my day when I got that first email from you back when saying, hey, yeah, I'd love to be on the show. I was like, what? No way. This is amazing. And then again too, it took some time for us to work it out and make the time happen, but man, what a blessing it is to have you here on the show with us today.
Thanks, man. I hope I lived up to your expectations as well. I know I and a lot, but I do appreciate your invite to the show, and I mostly appreciate your support for all these years. I mean, I get these messages, emails, and comments of people that have watched me from the beginning, and they'll say, I've been a supporter of you since you first started YouTube. And I look back, that's years ago now. That's over a decade ago, and you're still hanging with me. I mean, I don't think I would have hung with me. I would have got bored of me. I get bored of me editing me all the time. But I understand my own voice. But I'm just, I'm thankful for people like you and others that have, like I said, dedicate their eyeballs or some of their time to watch some of my videos.
Yeah. And we are always our biggest critics when it comes down to it. I'm the same way. I mean, you watch it myself. That's why at the end of all of my videos, I put together outtakes. So I show outtakes, of all that sort of stuff, just to
Yeah.
kind of show that it's all, it's kind of just a little fun adventure. I'm having fun with it, and and again, too, taking people along with me, and
No
again,
one's perfect.
those audience members are with me when I'm doing things and that sort of stuff. So that makes all of it even more fun. But yeah, when we have to edit ourselves and put it all together and stuff, we could do a little pushing back. But when it comes down to it, I enjoy it when people tell me that what they see here on our show and all of that's really inspiring, and I hope you enjoy it when we all tell you the same thing, that you've been inspiring to us for many, many years, and you're just a leader out there, just just showing people how enjoyable the garden can really be. You know what I mean? And that's just really, I think that's where you really just excel. You show us all how enjoyable the garden can be.
Thanks, mate. And if there's someone watching that is sort of on the verge of wanting to garden, because we've been talking about mental health and how good it can be for you, but you can't imagine it, I just want you to give it a try, and then you'll know what we mean. It's a bit like going for a hike in nature, going to the beach, just looking at the waves and getting the sand in your feet. Gardening is the same thing. It gives you a spiritual connection to the land, which takes you to another level and zens you out a bit. And then when you get involved with gardening, it does heal your soul a bit, and even your body a little bit to a certain extent. So yeah, just have a crack at it, and then you'll understand what we're talking about.
Yes, that's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. And like our one of our viewers right now, he comes in and joins with us every single week. I do want to give him a quick shout out because he's from Australia as well too, and he comes with us nice and early all the time, each and every week. And that's Rick, and he says, "Let's get into it." Right.
Hey,
So
Rick.
yeah, Rick is a great viewer too, and this is again too talking about people who spend their time and dedicate their time to come and view us and come here and join us and do all that sort of stuff. Is just amazing. I'm amazed at the people come and follow and do all of this sort of stuff, and I'm amazed sometimes when we can get really great guests on the show with us. There's one last thing I did want to touch on. I was actually just looking at my notes here real quick. There's a lot of things really we could talk about. I could talk to you all day, Mark. Literally, we could just sit here and talk all day. In fact, you could hang on after the show for a minute. Actually, there was a couple of other things, but you expanded out too. You ever not just was self-sufficient me, like this great juggernaut that becomes this really awesome thing in the gardening community and gardening world, but you're like, man, I also have this other amazing passion too. And I kind of touched on this in my pre-show, I think, and talked about this, but you created a channel called Self-Sufficient Me. And I love it was just, how perfect was that play, right? That all kind of worked out like that, right?
It is, and I was like fishing again with my grandfather. He used to take me river fishing back then, and because he was an inland farm boy, and we would fish in the dam, Somerset Dam here locally, and on the Condamine River and the Barwon River in New South Wales, catching yellow belly and cod, and we'd even eat catfish, or we'd call them jewfish. These are freshwater fish. And so I always had a passion about fishing as well. And I thought, would it be really nice to be able to do a fishing channel? But I just didn't have the time. But my eldest, James, he's 20, and he's a mad keen fisherman.
Okay,
and
yeah.
He was going to be a welder. A little sad. In grade 12, which is his last year of high school, one of his friends unfortunately passed away in a welding accident when he was training and doing welding for himself at home. And James came up to us and said, look, I don't want to do welding anymore. And anyway, I said, look, that's fine, and we totally understand it. But so what am I going to do? I said, well, until you find your feet, how about you try running the fishing channel for me? And he said, yeah, okay, I'll give it a go. So now he's doing everything. He does, I mean, everything. Prepares the boat, does the video editing for the fishing channel, and comes up with where we're going. I basically just have to turn up, get on the boat and fish, and be a bit of the front man for the channel as far as in front of the camera goes. But that's it. And we're really having a great time with it, I have to say.
Yeah.
And the crossover I've been making, and this is a video that I'll be bringing soon to Self-Sufficient Me, is the fish fertilizer, making our own fish fertilizer. And of course, burying fish scraps in the backyard. I do that all the time. So none of the fish that we catch go to waste ever. They're always either turned into food or fertilizer. So I
did recently watch one of those videos where you were talking about that, and I thought you made a great point when it comes to that, because I've talked about that before with others, and I think even I and Gardner Scott got onto this a little bit as well too, is that when you're burying fish or these sort of things into the garden, you really made sure to say, not so much. You know what I mean? If you're going to be planting a plant directly on top of it, really a great idea really mostly is, like with most things that we're adding to our garden, eggshells or all these sort of things, is really compost that down or put it into a spot in the garden where, you're going to be putting something down there weeks down the road, and that sort of thing, and let it break down and let it get all those just life going and doing all that sort of stuff that it needs to do. And I thought that was really great that you pointed that out too. Because a lot of people are like, oh, just toss a fish in there, and sometimes, and then plant it. It's it's going to create a situation for a while that roots are not going to want to have anything to do with.
Yeah, that's right. That anaerobic environment, as the fish head or something's rotting down. I've done a few experiments.
Yeah.
And some of them are potted experiments, which are even more enclosed and show that even though the tomato plant, say, for example, survives, it actually does a bit fairly poorly at the beginning, which wastes some time in the growing stage to try to get around that problem of the rotting fish. And then it comes good once it's ready to be able to absorb those nutrients, because they've broken down a lot more. And so, yes, exactly right. I would say vary a little and plant maybe just a small fish head, plant your tomato plant on top, not a problem, but don't overdo it, or let it break down first a bit before you plant in that spot.
Exactly. Yeah, I always like I think there's a lot of great things. There's a lot of stuff people talk about in adding and doing that sort of stuff to your garden, but a lot of this stuff isn't add it, grow. So a lot of this is add it, let it break down, add it into your compost, add it to a space where you can build it up. This is potentially going to be something, and this is you're just basically got to plan ahead a little bit, and then those sort of things are great, because there isn't anything better. I mean, you go and get some fish hydrolysate or something like that, these just really broken down fish stuff, and add or make some teas with some of this stuff and add that to your garden at the beginning of the season, and watch the green growth just go crazy.
And resting those garden beds sometimes, even if there's weeds growing in them, and just that I'd rather them be sort of mulched on top and not have the weeds grow and take nutrients out. However, we've noticed something really interesting over the years here, and that's even if weeds are growing in these beds and you get to weeding them eventually, if that bed's been rested, say, for 6 months and not touched, the soil really does tend to, I mean, if you've got good additives in there, like you have been adding your compost and all that to it, it really does have a great environment in there. It's full of worms normally, it's full of other little animals and fungi, and the soil looks rich and dark. And so when you do plant into it, I've always seen great success and great growth initially for the first 3 or 4 months. So resting as well as looking after those beds is an important part of gardening too, or crop rotation as well.
Yeah, those are things that definitely, yeah, are really important for that. And I, again, too, I kind of like that, again, as you said, that kind of how that worked is kind of a cool crossover and everything with the channel and everything. I was actually just watching you in one of your more recent videos, and you're out right off the channel and everything. And, or what is it? I remember you pointed back and said, was it Cape Martin? Is that right?
Oh, Morton.
Morton. Okay.
Yeah,
So I'm like, I don't know if I've got this right, but I'm trying to find it. I'm like, where's he at? He's like, you're like out there in the ocean and all of that. And I just think it's really fun and all of that too.
Well,
So
I
it's kind of
always,
great.
I well, always wanted a boat.
Mm-hmm.
I never thought I'd get there. When I retired from the military, before I did, in 2006, I was on operations in East Timor. And my wife would send over some fishing magazines and boating magazines, and I'd be dreaming of a boat that I could buy, something small to get me out on the water. And I never thought it was achievable. When I left the military, we didn't have enough money to do any of that. But yeah, I was lucky enough to be able to afford a small boat, 6-meter boat. And we've been fishing, and we started with a little tinny first, a $4,000 tinny, and
Yeah.
a little aluminium thing, and we just took it in the passage. And I thought, if we can do that, it was only a 6-horsepower motor, and if we enjoyed that enough, I could maybe upgrade one day. And we loved it. And so I thought, well, yeah, let's give it a go. And then we thought, why not make a YouTube channel out of it? You know, another thing that I love doing. So yeah, it's up to about 15,000 subscribers, so nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah. I think it's great, and it's kind of cool that you have that little kind of secondary outlet. And like you said, it's just kind of something you just got to show up for and have some fun. I mean, how cool is that, right? When it comes down to it. Okay, one last question, Mark, and I'm gonna let you go. Just a real quick question here, because I thought this is kind of neat too, because your name is Valencia, Mark Valencia. Is your favorite fruit the Valencia orange?
It is my it is my favorite orange, I have to say, because it's the one that holds on the tree the longest. It does. They very rarely. You have to really leave them to midsummer, for them to start falling, and by then the cockatoos and the parrots will come in and devour them anyway. So we have like our main, like I've got probably 10 orange trees, but the best ones are the Washington Navel. That's the first one to start ripening, and they're a nice big seedless orange. And then you've got the Lane's Late, which ripens later in the season, and so that's the next orange that we tackle. And then you've got the Valencia, and we've got a seedless Valencia and a normal Valencia, and they're a smaller orange, better for juicing, but still they're still nice to eat normally. And they will hang on the tree, like I said, till about midsummer. So you've got oranges for like 6 months of the year, and staggered through and all fresh. But Valencia, because of that trait and the quality of the juice, is probably my favorite. Yeah.
You ever get people asking you if that's your real name?
No, I don't. But
no. Oh, well, there you go. I guess I did.
Definitely my real name. Yeah.
It's your real name. I was like, wait, Valencia just happens to be this really, really cool citrus grower, right?
That's
great.
I mean, if people are interested, that it was my stepfather's last name. He was from Chile, South America, and he immigrated here to Australia. And so
that's a good piece
that's
of
where
knowledge.
the name came from. Was and that's the connection.
You took on your stepfather's name.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, that's a cool little piece of story I didn't know there too. So awesome, man. We got a little kind of cool little nugget there at the end of the interview. And again, too, Mark, so awesome of you, man, to come and take your time again from the future so early in the morning. You know, so it's just really great to have you here with us, and just what a blessing it is for us here to have you on our show and to get to have this really fun conversation with everybody. I hope everybody's had and enjoyed this conversation with Mark today. Again, I know lots of you probably already follow him. If you haven't, though, still, I did put a link anyways down below just in case there might be somebody out there. I don't know, but you go in there and subscribe and follow Mark, because again, huge inspiration to me. It's one of the main reasons I'm really out here doing a lot of stuff is because I got inspired by you many years ago, Mark, and just really awesome what you do, and I hope you just keep at it and keep on going.
Yeah, no plan to stop it, mate. I'm enjoying this too much, and I appreciate you having me on your show, and congratulations on your show. I'll definitely come back again if you'll have me.
Yeah. Oh, I would love it. Absolutely. That would be nothing I'd love more, for sure. I don't think there'd be anything more our audience would love more too, because this was really just a great conversation. Just again, just to mention real quick about being nervous earlier before the show. And I know Tony even mentioned earlier, he did tell me, don't be nervous. It's going to be all right. Blah, 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 but when it comes down to it, I get nervous almost every show. It's just something about when the light clicks on, you got it. It's time to get going and time to get growing here on the show. But when it comes down to it, we always end the show. I'm so relieved with such a wonderful, great conversation with such awesome gardeners. And it was just so awesome to get to hear and talk to you about your garden story.
Thanks, mate. Thank you.
You got it. Awesome. Again, hit that link down below. And again, thanks again, Mark. And I'll actually, let me get this here real quick. And we'll just see you in a couple minutes. And everybody here, we'll be right back. All right. How about that, huh? How awesome was that? What a great pleasure for us here on the Let's Get Growing show to be able to have just long time inspiration for me as a gardener. And I know for so many of you as well too, to have Mark Valencia on the show with us today was just such a pleasure. So awesome, such great stuff to talk about today. And then don't forget, I mean, we had other great guests. I mean, I really enjoyed talking with our previous guests too on the show. We had with us earlier too today, Sean and Allison from Spoken Garden. So that was really awesome to finally get to meet them too. I've been following them for a while. And again, too, like I said, is if you are joining with us here right now, definitely click that like button, hit the thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and then share with people. And then, as I mentioned, leave comments. Go to Sean and Allison's page. Go and follow them. Go leave them some comments and say, hey, I saw you on the Let's Get Growing show. In fact, Mark will probably have a video out, or he's probably got his latest video out, or you'll have a video out coming out real soon. Go and leave a comment over there. I know there's lots of them, but go say, hey, I saw you on the Let's Get Growing show recently, and it was so awesome. So again, do that too, because comments are really a great way of supporting creators out there. The likes are great. Any sort of reaction is really awesome. It just really helps the YouTube algorithm see our channels. It helps them get presented out to other people too, so that they can see our content as well too. So all of that sort of stuff is really great, but the comments are even better, because then that's a real interaction. That's something I really get to hear from you, and I get, whether, even if it's just a hello or the show was great, thank you. We have a couple of people who just drop in and just say that really simply, and I love it each and every time, because what they're doing is just acknowledging what we're doing here and helps support us in that sort of way. So that is really, really huge. Okay. And again, too, I do also want to mention, I love to see you over at our Facebook group. We have a group for the Let's Get Growing show, appropriately named the Let's Get Growing group on Facebook. And it's a gardening group. And this is a great place for all of you to go and share your gardens. So maybe you don't create videos or that sort of thing, but you got great, amazing gardens. And if you can go out snap some pictures and go post them in our group and let everybody know and see your gardens, especially me, because, I share all these videos. It's a great place for me to go and check out all of the gardens that you've got growing on too. So I love to see more of those as well. And then again, to our sponsor, one other way to support us, our sponsor is Ivy Organics, and you can go check them out at ivyorganics.com. And again, I really, really support Ivy Organics, another great family company. Charles is one of our great supporters of the channel. So support Ivy Organics. And I really believe everybody should have the 3-in-1 plant guard, especially if you're growing trees. This is just an amazing organic product for protecting your trees, protecting your plants all around. So go check that out at ivyorganics.com. Use our promo code GROW10 at GROW10. And yeah, definitely go do that. Go check that out. And everybody, this has been an amazing day today. Just can't believe it. Real quick, I do want to mention, though, before we do go, next Saturday on the show, we have joining with us Leo Carver. He's the author of the book Growing Consciousness. We're going to really dig into that spiritual side, that healing side, that, that stuff we really get from our garden that just like it's mentioned a couple of times today, really seals the deal for us gardeners, man. When we get that from our garden, man, we're in it. We're in it for good, man, for sure. And then next Sunday edition is our book club with Christy Wilhelmy. She's the author of the book Garden Variety. And we'll be joined with my co-host, Mark Boucher-Colbert, live with a great conversation with Christy about her book Garden Variety. If you haven't had it, or had seen the book or checked it out or anything like that, definitely go out there and get that book. Check it out, read it. It's such a fun novel, just a good fictional story about a community garden, and follow her character Lizzie through all of these different things going on in this community garden. I think it's just really great. It's got a bunch of cool gardening tips and all that sprinkled in. So definitely go and check that out this next week for sure on the show. So again, everybody, thank you all so much for being here with us today. Thank you to Sean and Allison for joining with us. And again, definitely a big, huge thank you to Mark for being with us on the show today. Everybody, I hope you all have a great week in the garden, and I'll see all of you on our next show.